rain in Portland, Oregon, falls with a heavy persistence that seems to wash away the sins of the city. But at the Heathman Hotel, it only serves to deepen the shadows that cling to the historic facade. Standing tall since the Roaring Twenties, this architectural marvel has witnessed the rise and fall of fortunes and the untimely ends of those who could no longer bear the weight of existence. The air surrounding the building feels thick with an unspoken history that chills the bone even on the warmest summer days. Locals walk past the entrance with a hurried pace, often averting their gaze from the upper windows, where it is said that unseen eyes are always watching. The structure itself seems to breathe with a life of its own, inhaling the fog and exhaling a sense of dread that permeates the surrounding blocks. It is a place where the barrier between the living and the dead is terrifyingly thin. Inside the grand lobby, the opulence of a bygone era tries to mask the underlying current of unease that many guests report feeling the moment they step through the doors. The wood paneling and elegant chandeliers speak of wealth and comfort. Yet there is a coldness that radiates from the walls themselves. Shadows seem to stretch longer than they should in the dim light, and the silence of the library is often broken by sounds that have no logical source. This is not merely a hotel, it is a repository of memories and emotions that have refused to fade with time. The spirits that inhabit these halls are not just passive observers, they are active participants in a haunting that has plagued the establishment for decades. Every creak of the floorboards and every flicker of the lights serves as a reminder that the guests are never truly alone. The Heathman Hotel was constructed in the year 1927, a time when Portland was bustling with the energy of the Jazz Age and the promise of endless prosperity. However, the joyous atmosphere of the era would soon be overshadowed by the Great Depression, a period of despair that would leave an indelible mark on the city and the hotel itself. During these dark years, the high-rise building became a final destination for many despairing souls who saw no other way out of their financial ruin. The sheer drop from the upper floors offered a quick, if violent, escape from the misery of poverty and shame. These tragic events imprinted a residue of anguish onto the very stones of the building, creating a spiritual wound that has never fully healed. The echoes of those desperate final moments still resonate in the stillness of the night. Among the many rooms in the hotel, there is a specific column of suites that has gained a notorious reputation for paranormal activity that terrifies even the most skeptical visitors. The rooms ending in the number 03, specifically rooms 703, 803, and 1003, are the epicenter of the hauntings. It is believed that a person, or perhaps multiple people, jumped to their deaths from this specific line of rooms, leaving behind a tunnel of negative energy cuts vertically through the building. Guests staying in these rooms often report a sudden and overwhelming feeling of sadness that washes over them without warning. This emotional projection is so intense that it has driven people to check out in the middle of the night, fleeing the hotel in a state of panic. Room 703 is particularly feared by the housekeeping staff and those who are aware of the dark history contained within its four walls. Those who enter the room often describe the air as feeling heavy and suffocating, as if the oxygen is being slowly sucked out of the space. There are reports of cold spots that move intelligently around the room, tracking the movements of the living occupants. Some guests have returned to the room to find their personal belongings rearranged or stacked in bizarre formations that defy explanation. The most chilling accounts involve the sensation of a heavy weight pressing down on the bed, as if an invisible person has just sat down beside them. The feeling is distinct and undeniable, leaving the victim paralyzed with fear. The hauntings in room 703 often escalate from subtle disturbances to terrifying physical encounters that leave lasting psychological scars. Guests have awakened in the dead of night to find themselves unable to move, held down by a force that feels malevolent and possessive. During these episodes of sleep paralysis, victims often see a dark, shadowy figure standing at the foot of the bed, watching them with an intensity that burns through the darkness. The figure is described as a black mass with no discernible features, yet it radiates a hatred that is palpable. This entity does not seem to be a confused spirit seeking help, but rather a dark energy that feeds on the fear it instills in the living. Moving up to room 803, the manifestations take on a different but equally disturbing character. Here the haunting is auditory, often sounding like the weeping of a woman in deep distress. The sobbing seems to come from the corner of the room, or sometimes from the bathroom, echoing off the tiled walls. Guests have called the front desk to complain about a crying woman in the adjacent room, only to be told that the room next door is unoccupied. The sounds are heart-wrenching, filled with a sorrow so deep that it affects the mood of anyone who hears it. It is as if the room itself is crying out, replaying the final moments of a tragedy that occurred decades ago. The visual phenomena in room 803 are just as unsettling as the auditory ones, with mirrors playing a central role in the horror. Several guests have reported seeing a reflection that is not their own when glancing into the bathroom mirror late at night. The face that stares back is often described as pale and gaunt, with hollow eyes that seem to look right through the viewer. Sometimes the figure appears to be standing just behind the guest in the reflection, but when they turn around, the room is empty. This disconnect between what is seen in the mirror and reality creates a profound sense of disorientation and terror that makes staying in the room impossible for many. Room 1003 completes the triad of terror, offering its own unique brand of supernatural activity that challenges the sanity of those who stay there. In this room, the poltergeist activity is more aggressive, with objects being thrown across the room by unseen hands. Lamps have been known to fly off bedside tables and shatter against the wall, while heavy armchairs slide across the carpet with a grinding sound. The violence of these outbursts suggests a spirit that is angry and frustrated, lashing out at the living for invading its space. The energy in room 1003 is volatile and unpredictable, making it one of the most dangerous places in the hotel. One particularly harrowing account comes from a businessman who stayed in room 1003, unaware of the reputation that preceded it. He was a rational man who did not believe in ghosts or things that go bump in the night. However, his skepticism was shattered on his first night when he woke up to the sound of heavy breathing right next to his ear. He froze, assuming someone had broken into his room. But when he reached for the lamp, the light revealed an empty room. As he tried to calm his racing heart, the heavy breathing continued, moving around the bed and getting closer and closer until he could feel the hot breath on his neck. The terror did not end there for the businessman as he watched in horror as the water glass on his nightstand slowly slid to the edge and tipped over. The sound of the glass hitting the floor was deafening in the silence of the room. He scrambled out of bed and backed into the corner, watching as the bed sheets were ripped off the mattress by an invisible force. The violence of the action was unmistakable, and the man grabbed his keys and wallet and ran from the room without even putting on his shoes. He spent the rest of the night in the lobby, refusing to return to the room, even to pack his bags. The history of the suicides at the Heathman Hotel is tragic and vast, providing ample fuel for the paranormal fire that burns within the building. During the Great Depression, the hotel saw a spike in jumpers as men who had lost their fortunes saw no other option. The sidewalk below the hotel became a grim scene of horror on multiple occasions, traumatizing witnesses and leaving a stain on the location. It is said that the spirits of these jumpers are trapped in a loop, replaying their final descent over and over again. Some sensitive individuals claim they can hear the phantom sound of a body hitting the pavement when they walk past the hotel late at night. The phenomena are not limited to the guest rooms, as the staff of the Heathman Hotel have their own collection of terrifying tales. Housekeepers have reported entering a room to clean only to find the television turning on and off by itself. Others have seen the imprint of a body on a freshly made bed moments after finishing their work. The service elevators are known to malfunction, frequently taking staff to floors They did not select, usually, the haunted 8th or 10th floors. The doors will open to a dark, empty hallway, and a cold draft will rush into the elevator, chilling the occupants to the bone. The mezzanine level of the hotel is another hotspot for paranormal activity, often frequented by a spirit that appears to be a guest from the 1930s. This apparition is usually seen wearing a period-correct suit and fedora, standing near the railing and looking down into the lobby. He appears solid and lifelike until he simply fades away into nothingness before the eyes of startled witnesses. Staff members have nicknamed him the Watcher because he seems to be observing the daily operations of the hotel with a critical eye. He never interacts with the living, but his presence is a constant reminder of the past. The hotel library, with its extensive collection of books and quiet atmosphere, is also a place where the supernatural makes itself known. Guests reading in the comfortable armchairs have reported feeling a gentle touch on their shoulder, or the sensation of someone running fingers through their hair. These touches are not aggressive, but they are startling enough to disrupt the peace of the room. Books have been known to fall from the shelves without cause, sometimes landing open to pages that reference death or the afterlife. It is as if the spirits are trying to communicate through the literature that surrounds them. Paranormal investigators have flocked to the Heathman Hotel over the years, drawn by the consistency and intensity of the reports. Electronic voice phenomena sessions conducted in the haunted rooms have captured chilling responses to questions asked by the investigators. Voices whispering names and pleas for help have been recorded on digital devices, offering potential proof of the afterlife. One famous recording captured a voice in room 703 saying, "I cannot leave," which confirms the theory that these spirits are trapped within the building. The evidence gathered at the Heathman is considered some of the most compelling in the field of ghost hunting. The sensation of being watched is a common thread that runs through almost every story associated with the Heathman Hotel. Whether in the lobby, the hallways, or the privacy of a guest room, people constantly feel eyes upon them. This scopophobia induces a state of high anxiety that wears down the defenses of the living, making them more susceptible to paranormal influence. It is a psychological assault that precedes the physical manifestations, creating an atmosphere of vulnerability. The entities seem to feed off this anxiety, growing stronger as the fear level of the guest increases. One of the most disturbing aspects of the haunting is the interaction between the ghosts and the electronic equipment brought by guests. Cameras often malfunction in the haunted rooms, with batteries draining instantly or files becoming corrupted. Some guests have taken photos of the room, only to find strange anomalies in the images upon review. Orbs of light, shadowy figures, and inexplicable mists appear in photographs taken in what seemed to be empty rooms. These visual captures provide tangible evidence that something unseen is sharing the space with the living. There is a story of a famous psychic who visited the Heathman Hotel to conduct a reading and was overwhelmed by the energy in the lobby. She claimed that the building acts as a vortex, drawing in spirits from the surrounding area. According to her, the suicides created a tear in the veil between worlds, allowing entities to pass through freely. She warned the staff that the hotel was not just haunted by former guests, but also by elemental spirits that were attracted to the negativity. Her warning was met with skepticism by management, but the staff who work the night shift took her words to heart. The night shift at the Heathman is a lonely and frightening experience for the employees who must patrol the empty corridors. Security guards have reported hearing footsteps following them as they make their rounds, only to find no one there when they turn around. The sound of doors slamming shut on unoccupied floors echoes through the stairwells, creating a cacophony of phantom noises. Some guards refuse to go to the 10th floor alone, preferring to face disciplinary action rather than face the entities that lurk in the shadows. A particularly gruesome legend involves a guest who stayed in room 703 in the 1990s and claimed to be attacked by an unseen force. He woke up with scratches on his back that were deep and bleeding, as if he had been clawed by a wild animal. The marks were in places he could not reach himself, ruling out the possibility of self-inflicted wounds. He fled the hotel in the middle of the night, leaving behind his luggage and blood-stained sheets. This violent attack marked a turning point in the activity, suggesting that the entities were becoming more aggressive. The connection between the Heathman Hotel and the infamous Portland-Shanghai tunnels adds another layer of darkness to the story. These underground tunnels were used to kidnap men and sell them into forced labor on ships, and they run beneath the streets of the city. While the hotel does not have direct access to the tunnels, the proximity creates a spiritual link to the suffering and death that occurred underground. The negative energy from the tunnels is believed to seep up into the foundations of the hotel, feeding the hauntings above. Guests who travel with pets have noticed that animals behave strangely when inside the Heathman Hotel. Dogs will often bark at empty corners or refuse to enter certain rooms, whimpering and tucking their tails between their legs. Cats have been seen hissing at the air and tracking invisible movements with their eyes. Animals are known to be more sensitive to the paranormal than humans, and their reactions serve as an early warning system. If a dog refuses to go into room 703, it is best to heed the warning. The architecture of the hotel, with its high ceilings and long, narrow corridors, amplifies the spooky atmosphere. The design, which was meant to convey luxury, now feels like a labyrinth where one can easily get lost. The acoustics of the building carry sounds from distant floors, making it difficult to pinpoint the source of a noise. This disorientation adds to the fear, as guests can never be sure if the footsteps they hear are real or spectral. The building itself plays a role in the haunting, acting as a stage for the supernatural drama. Despite the numerous renovations and updates, the Heathman Hotel has undergone the ghosts refuse to leave. New paint and modern furniture cannot cover up the spiritual stains of the past. In fact, construction work often stirs up the activity, making the phenomena more frequent and intense. It seems that the spirits resent the changes to their home and lash out in protest. Workers have reported tools vanishing and ladders shaking while they are on them, leading to delays in the renovation projects. The management of the hotel has a complex relationship with its haunted reputation, acknowledging the stories while trying to maintain a professional image. They do not advertise the ghosts, but they do not deny the experiences of their guests. There is a logbook at the front desk where guests can record their paranormal encounters, and it is filled with hundreds of entries. This acknowledgement validates the experiences of those who have been terrified, offering a small measure of comfort. The entity known as the Hazel Ghost is another specific spirit said to haunt the hotel, named after a guest who died in the building. Hazel is described as a benevolent but confused spirit who wanders the halls looking for her room. She is often seen wearing a floral dress from the 1940s and has a lost expression on her face. Guests who encounter her often mistake her for a real person until she walks through a closed door. Her presence is sad rather than scary, adding a touch of tragedy to the horror. There are times when the hotel feels completely normal and the sun shines brightly through the windows, chasing away the shadows. But these moments of peace are often short-lived, and the heavy atmosphere always returns. The cycle of activity seems to be tied to the lunar cycle, with the full moon bringing out the most intense manifestations. During these times, the energy in the hotel is electric, and the air crackles with tension. Seasoned staff members know to be on high alert during the full moon. The psychological toll on the long-term staff members is significant, as they are constantly exposed to the negative energy. Many have quit, citing the stress of working in a haunted environment as the reason for their departure. Those who stay have developed coping mechanisms, often banding together for safety and sharing their stories to relieve the burden. They have created a community of survivors bound together by their shared experiences of the unexplained. One story that circulates among the staff involves a wedding party that booked the ballroom for a reception. During the speeches, the microphones began to screech with feedback, and the lights flickered violently. The bride claimed to see a dark figure standing on the balcony, overlooking the dance floor, ruining her special moment. The photographs from the wedding showed strange mists swirling around the couple as they danced. It was a stark reminder that the spirits do not respect the celebrations of the living. The basement of the Heathman Hotel is an area that is strictly off limits to guests, and for good reason. It is dark, damp, and filled with the old machinery that keeps the hotel running. It is also the place where the feeling of dread is most concentrated. Staff who must go down there do so in pairs, refusing to enter the darkness alone. It is rumored that the basement is the source of the haunting, the root from which the dark energy spreads upwards. As the years go by, the legend of the Heathman Hotel continues to grow, attracting thrill seekers and ghost hunters from around the world. They come hoping to catch a glimpse of the paranormal, to prove that there is something beyond death. But many who come looking for a scare get more than they bargained for, leaving the hotel with a newfound fear of the dark. The hotel stands as a monument to the unknown, a place where the questions of the afterlife are asked but never answered. The skepticism of the modern world has no power within the walls of the Heathman Hotel, where the impossible becomes reality. Science cannot explain why a glass slides across a table, or why a room suddenly drops 20 degrees in temperature. The laws of physics seem to be suspended in this place, replaced by the rules of the supernatural. It is a humbling experience for those who believe that everything has a rational explanation. Some believe that the land itself is cursed long before the hotel was ever built. Indigenous legends speak of the area being a place where the spirits of the dead could not find rest. The construction of the city and the hotel only served to disturb these ancient energies, creating a chaotic mix of old and new hauntings. The layers of history overlap, creating a complex tapestry of spiritual activity that is unique to this location. The final realization for many who visit the Heathman is that the ghosts are not just echoes of the past, but trapped consciousnesses. They are aware of the living, and they react to our presence with envy, anger, or sadness. This intelligence makes the haunting personal and deeply disturbing. It is not just a movie or a story. It is a direct interaction with the dead. As night falls over Portland, the Heathman Hotel lights up, standing as a beacon in the darkness. But for those who know its secrets, the light is a warning rather than a welcome. The phantom guests are waking up, ready to roam the halls once again. The poltergeists are gathering their strength, preparing to terrify the next unsuspecting victim. The cycle continues, as it has for nearly a century. For those brave enough to book a room at the Heathman, the advice is simple: pay attention to your feelings. If the hair on the back of your neck stands up, or if the room feels suddenly cold, do not ignore it. You are stepping into a domain that belongs to the dead, and you are merely a guest. Respect the spirits, and perhaps they will leave you in peace, but never assume you are alone. The Heathman Hotel remains one of the most haunted places in the Pacific Northwest, a true landmark of terror. Its walls hold the secrets of 1,000 nights of fear, and its rooms are the stage for a never-ending ghost story. As you walk away from the building, you can feel the weight lift from your shoulders, a sign that you have escaped its grip. But the memory of the darkness will linger, a haunting souvenir that you will carry with you forever.